Let's get in. One player that moved teams this offseason, I was kind of alluding to it. Davante Adams moved to the Rams. And you and I talked a lot about Puka Nacua last year, Cooper Kupp. Davante Adams walks into a similar role of Cooper Kupp and playing a complimentary receiver for Puka Nacua. Now, when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is money for Davante Adams and money for this entire Rams, money for Stafford, money for Nacua. I think this is a very good situation overall. How are you feeling about both of these receivers in fantasy? Because it does impact some things. And I think did we talk about this already? It does impact both Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. I love this for both players, to be honest.
I do too. I'm the same. I think it actually helps Puka in terms of real football. In terms of fantasy, I think you do got to knock him down, right? In real football, this is going to help Puka. But fantasy, you got to knock him down a few spots. Not too much. I still think he could be like a high-end wide receiver 2, back-end wide receiver 1. Love this for Davante Adams. Love this even more for Stafford, right? Because you got 2 wide receivers who are big body, dependable, can route you up, do all that good stuff. And my man K. Williams, love this for him too. Because how the hell are you going to stack the box?
You know what's funny is everybody is super high on Puka Nacua now, fantasy-wise. And I'm like, y'all don't realize, he's been kind of injury-prone. He's missed time both seasons. Yeah, just putting that out there. Second of all, red zone is done for Puka Nacua. It's Davante or Kyron Williams. That's it. And when you have that combination, and it can't just be yards. Like, it can't just be yards when it comes to fantasy production. And especially if you're going to take somebody in the top 3 to 5 receivers, they need to have the yardage upside, the catch upside, and the touchdown upside. Puka Nacua over Malik Neighbors, over Brian Thomas, over A.J. Brown? Whoa. Why is he going as a top 5 receiver right now? I'm sorry. I keep pushing Nacua down to the second round, sliding him even further down for me, but I just don't see it with this top 5 love for Puka Nacua when Davante's going to be around 1,010 touchdowns. I think that's very clear and evident to me.
Yeah, 100%. And something not a lot of people are talking about is the tight end that they drafted. I think it was in the 2nd round, maybe the 3rd round, but they drafted a tight end. And
they went up for him.
Yeah, and then they've been raving about this dude. You know what I mean? Talking about he's the next Chris Cooley. They remind him of, and if you know, back in the day, Chris Cooley was, he was nice. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he's going to be a factor too, maybe like later on in the year. So no, I wouldn't take Puka top 5. Would not take Puka.
They've been hyping up Ferguson a lot too, bro. They've been like, he's going to be a problem. So I don't know. I don't necessarily see. I don't really see Puka having like this crazy ceiling, which is really where if you're going to take somebody, you want the ceiling. You got to have the ceiling with it. Puka, to me, just don't have 120 catch, 10 touchdown, 1,500 yards ceiling. That's just to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think he's that. I think he's gonna be one of those guys who you can count on for a consistent ass like 15, 16 fantasy points. Consistent. If you need one of those, like, okay, I got 15 fantasy points right here in PPR, get Puka. If you could get Puka as your wide receiver too, I think that's where you win.
He's going in the 1st round. Like, it's unanimous in the 1st round, which is wild. Wow, man. Another receiver who moved and is going outside of the top 20 receivers. This is early ADP, but going outside the top 20 receivers right now. DK Metcalf headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe things change when Aaron Rodgers gets on the team. Maybe people start feeling the love a little bit more and realizing the situation. But how are you feeling about DK Metcalf? Because when he was with Seattle, we noticed like there were some inconsistencies with him. Like he would have big weeks and then kind of have bad matchups at times where he would play a stud corner and he wouldn't do well. They had other receivers there who sometimes took the load off of him. George Pickens is gone now, and you're dealing with like Roman Wilson and all these various other receivers the Steelers have in Arthur Smith's offense. Are you in on DK Metcalf? And let's have the contingency that Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh.
I was just going to say, I think that right now is the time to buy DK before Aaron Rodgers gets there, because I think Aaron Rodgers will actually elevate him. When you think of DK, you're thinking like, oh, this guy, his entire career, you're like, When's this guy going to break out and be an actual stud? Who he is, his stature, and how he plays never really reflected consistently in fantasy. Like this guy, we thought he was going to be a top 10, top 12 wide receiver. I think he has a bet with Aaron Rodgers there. I think he's probably going to have the best opportunity to actually crack that, right? Yeah. Maybe top 12, top 15. Like I could say, you know what I'm saying? Because like we know Aaron Rodgers peppers his number one wide receiver. There isn't really anybody else over there to throw to outside of like Pat Freiermuth, right? So yeah, I mean, if I could get DK Metcalf as like a wide receiver 3, I think I'd be mad happy with that.
I don't see a world where he's not a wide receiver 2, probably a high-end wide receiver 2. And with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the one thing he does is he will force feed his guy. And I think what we didn't see last year with Garrett Wilson, because Davante Adams came, was like using that red zone usage as well. Like Garrett Wilson had a career high in touchdowns last year, 7 touchdowns. And he's not the size that DK Metcalf is. He's not the animal that DK is in the red zone. And I'm like, who else is it's really just what Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson as the backs, and you got DK, Pat Freiermuth. Like, I just feel like he's kind of being disrespected. Going after guys like Zay Flowers goes ahead of him in a lot of drafts, or like, you know, Xavier Worthy sometimes goes ahead of him in the drafts. I'm just like, I don't JSN. I don't know why the fuck JSN's up so high, but like he goes ahead of DK Metcalf, and I'm like, I think that they're more similar than they are apart. Like. I don't know. I just feel like DK Metcalf is being disrespected for the alpha receiver he is. We were used to drafting this dude as like a top 12-ish type receiver, and he's going outside of the top 20 receivers. It's kind of wild to me,
but I mean, you know, his performance was never top 12 though. You know, he never put up like, I think he put up top 12 numbers once.
Yeah, he did, but he's always been like banged up.
But it's not even that he's banged up. He's just always like, I don't know. It's just been weird. Like DK. But listen, with Aaron Rodgers, we know he peppers the wide receivers, but you also know if and when they get Aaron Rodgers, he's going to bring in some of his own pieces too. You know what I'm saying? He's going to bring in some wide receivers he's comfortable with. And whether that helps him or hurts him, I think it'll help him. Like I said, I'm going to stick to what I said, man. I think that now is a good time to buy him while everybody's low on him, because nobody right now is considering any parts of that motherfucking Steelers offense.
Yeah, he had seasons where he finishes the number 7, number 14, number 16 receiver, and then he went to number 21 and 32. So a lot of people probably feel the same way you do, in that he's got to prove to us that he's still elite. And I guess I'm not mad at that. It's just if you're going to draft him, you'll be getting really good value, return on the dollar. So that's all it's about, man. Return on the dollar. A couple questions.
ROI, baby. ROI.
ROI for real. For real. Good morning, fellas. Good morning, fellas. Great to have you live and looking good. Love you much. Mama Hen, what's good?
What's up, Mama Hen?
How you living, Mama? I'll be talking to you soon, obviously. Clarence said, do the Ravens need a big receiver like Brown or Metcalf to win it all? Speaking of new faces and new places,
D-Hop,
they might have gotten a bigger receiver than I think everybody wants to give credit for. Now, the team already has Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, guys that can catch the rock. Isaiah Likely is expected to take a bigger role this year. Mark Andrews probably will be shifted on. I think that's another talk. We got to talk tight. We got a lot to catch up on.
Yes, Mark Andrews, man.
But let me not touch the ball. But D-Hop is still, I think he's still talented. And, you know, he came off of that ACL injury. A lot of people forgot that. Came into an offense that was already loaded with talent. But, like, there was times last year where D-Hop was still elite. There was times where he was still making plays. It's just that the Chiefs have a crowded receiver bunch. You go to Baltimore and you talk about, like, do they need a big receiver? They don't, because they run the offense through Lamar and Derrick Henry. But I think D-Hop is going to have a much better season than a lot of people think. Not this crazy top 15 season, but like I think D-Hop will be in starting lineups fantasy-wise, like throughout the course of the year.
Solid flex option. And Jay, we think exactly the same, bro.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the most underrated and overlooked moves of the offseason, because D-Hop is not washed. He's far from it, right? Situationally, he was looking really good in KC in situational, like real football, right? There's not much you can do with those quarterbacks that you had in Tennessee, but he was still making them look good in some weeks. He still has talent. You know what I mean? He can still, box you out and do what he got to do one-on-one. I think that what they need, not necessarily like a big bodied wide receiver. I guess you can say he's a big body wide receiver, but they just need somebody who they can count on to beat you one-on-one in a jump ball situation, or, like if I need this first down, who am I going to go to? Because I don't think that they have that. I think that they thought that they had that in their tight ends, but obviously they lost confidence in that. But I think you can do that as far as wide receiver goes with D-Hop. I think he's somebody you could trust for sure.
Well, when we're looking at options, we look at this red zone. We're looking at Isaiah Likely toe on the line in the red zone. We're looking at Mark Andrews dropping the ball in the red zone. And when all the teams can just gear up and load in on Derrick Henry or Lamar and spy him, now that makes you much more readable as an offense, right? So let's throw a guy on the outside who can win a jump ball, who no matter what, if I just throw him this football, it'll go up to him. And he's one of those players where it feels like kind of like Derrick Henry. The more Lamar trusts him, he's going to be like, oh, shit, I just got to get this dude the football as much as possible. D-Hop is going to surprise people. And I think that touchdown total around, like, if it was around 8 to 10 touchdowns this year, it wouldn't shock it wouldn't shock us at least.
It wouldn't. I think 900, around like 900, 950, and like 10, 900, 950, and like anywhere between 8 to 10 wouldn't surprise me at all.
He's gonna be nastier than people think, right? Andy,